So today I'm very excited to show a very cool knife. This is the Protech Magic 2, and in my opinion, the coolest automatic knife that's out there. Now this knife specifically I think is the coolest, but it also represents a genre of knives that not a lot of people even know about, and they are hidden release automatic knives. Okay, so this knife opens up a very specific way that you probably couldn't just guess. With a lot of different automatic knives, you'll be able to clearly see a button that's on the side or some kind of a switch. In the case of OTF knives that come out the front, OTF stands for out the front. There'll be a switch on the side. You can clearly see that you have to manipulate, or a button or something, maybe on the back of the knife. But in this particular case, as we look at this knife, I mean, there's nothing that stands out as anything special that you would have to touch to open it. Yet somehow it just opens, you know? It's a magic knife, that's why it's called the Magic. Alright, so now that I have your attention, we're going to go over how this knife functions, and then for all the knife nuts out there that want the specifications on the knife that are actually going to get one and use it, I'll talk about those later. But just for people who are interested in the design, this is how it works. What we're doing here is we're shifting the scales, okay? So this top scale shifts forward, and the bottom scale shifts backwards, okay? And how this knife is designed, when the top scale shifts forward, it pushes the lock bar, which you can see is the only silver part on this knife. It runs through the whole spine here. By pushing the scale that way, it pushes the lock out, okay? Now this has pressure built up, all right? So there's a coil spring inside the pivot here. So it wants to shoot out as soon as it's released. So as you push this scale forward, you're lifting the lock, and as soon as that lock lifts past the cutout on the blade, all that pressure is released and the knife opens. So it's very simple. What we're going to do is give you a view like this to see how this works. I'm shifting this top scale forward. Okay, so you're basically separating the scales. Now it only moves this much. You can't overshift it. Like right there, that's as far as I can push it. And then there's a spring on the inside, which you can probably see. If I zoom in there, that spring keeps pressure or tension on it at all times. All right, so when you let go, it just pushes back to the original position. It's a very simple concept, but again, as I shift that scale, you can see it pulls up on the lock. So this opens up the doors for a bunch of different ways to open this. Now this has a pocket clip. You can see it's orientated in a tip-up right side carry position. All right, you can see as well that it's not swappable. It is only for this position here. But what I like about the pocket clip is because that's sticking out away from the knife, it gives you something to hold on to. Now, if you look at the back of the knife as well as the front, you can see that there's these serrations. Okay, these micro serrations facilitate grip. So you can grab onto these scales, both in the back and the front. So the idea here is, in a traditional grip on this knife, you're going to put your fingertips on that scale and you're going to squeeze. As you squeeze down, your fingertips are putting pressure on the back scale, but your palm is naturally pushing the front scale forward. All right, so as long as you're just gripping the scale and you squeeze, it separates them, which therefore releases the blade and opens it. Okay, but what's even easier is grabbing the pocket clip. It may not be recommended, but it's just easier so that your hand's away from that blade. You're not going to get cut or anything like that, but if your fingertips are too far over, you're going to keep that from being released, and then it's kind of a sloppy, slow release. So if you pull down on the pocket clip, the same thing happens, and it can open the knife. What I really like about this is you can do this the same in the reverse grip with either the scale or the pocket clip. By using the pocket clip in the reverse grip, it's just very seamless. It just looks super impressive. No one has any idea what you did to even open the knife. It seems like magic. And of course, to close the knife, it's the exact same operation. You're separating the scales to lift that lock bar up. And once you do, you can use your other hand, just slowly close it. All right, and of course, when it's all the way closed, you'll hear and feel that click, and it's gonna keep that blade in. So the only way to open and close this knife is by shifting those scales. All right, you're not able to just pull the blade out or anything. On some knife designs, there's hidden release, but they're also called dual action. A dual action auto is just how it sounds. You have some kind of hidden automatic function that opens the knife in an automatic fashion, but then you're also able to manually open the knife with a thumb stud or something like that. So you can use it in a manual function and no one would ever know that it's automatic as well. This is not one of those designs. This is just an automatic, okay? So just keep that in mind. So anyway, I'm just a huge fan of hidden release automatics in general. I do feel like they are the coolest automatic knives out there. Probably second to the coolest knives, in my opinion, were always Balisongs. I think Balisongs were the coolest knife design there is. But when you're talking automatics, a lot of people focus on OTFs. They think they're just really, really neat, but I gravitate towards very unique knives like this. So now that you know how it works, let's go into the details in case you're interested in actually getting one and using it. So this one is the Protech Magic 2. All right, this one is the blacked out version, so everything's blacked out. The aluminum handle scales, the blade, of course, our hardware. The only thing that's not black is the actual lock bar, which has somewhat of a stonewash finish. All right. The Magic 2 is actually a newer version of the original. The original, or Magic 1, I think it was the BR1. That one was a little bit smaller, okay? So they brought the knife design back, but made it a little bit larger. This has a 3.75 inch blade. This is in 154 cm. So you can see it is marked on the back of the blade, 154 cm. And we're back here, you can see this is a Whiskers design. All right, Mike Allen, also known as Whiskers, is the person who came up with this particular design. There are other hidden automatic knives that are kind of similar, but the internals will be different, so the actual mechanisms are different from each other, even though they look like they function the same. As far as the closed length, it is 4.87 inches, all right, making it 8.6 inches overall, and this weighs 4.8 ounces. Okay, Protech Knives, of course, made in the USA. Now the price on these range anywhere from $250 is about the cheapest for the original smaller version that was kind of plain, all the way up to $1,000. However, most of these are in the $300 to $400 price range. This one in particular is just under $300, okay? The one cool thing about Protech is they have a couple different models that they focus on, but they do a ton of flavors. Now what do I mean by flavors? This knife design is awesome. I think it's awesome. There's probably like 30 or 40 different versions of this knife. All right, different blade finishes, different looks, different handle materials. You can get a super flashy one with, you know, Damascus blade and all kinds of fancy, you know, handle scales and stuff. Or you can get something that's a little bit more plain Jane like this. So taking a closer look at this blade, I believe they consider this a spear point blade. It is a slicing machine. This is just one continuous curvature. It's basically all belly. All right, but it does have a nice fine point on there for a little bit more precision cutting. I did a ton of cardboard cutting. You can see the finish held up very well. All right, there's rub marks and stuff, but there's no wearing or scratching or anything like that. And it's just, I mean, it's a lightsaber right out of the box. I mean, this thing is slicing cardboard like crazy. It is flat ground. I don't know if you could tell. But yeah, I mean, it's a really, really cool knife. Now, this has a novelty factor that's through the roof. I mean, again, I think this is the coolest automatic knife that's out there. All right, most people haven't even seen this type of automatic. I mean, these are a little bit more popular, I think, back in the 90s and stuff. But I mean, it has the wow factor, but once you get over that, it's a really awesome functional knife. All right, that's what I love, is I love a novelty that's functional. A lot of times when you have a gimmicky knife design, sometimes it's a cheaper knife. This is a very, very high quality knife. I mean, Protech is among the best automatic knife makers anywhere in the world. Now, one of the exciting parts on making this video, not only showing you a cool knife, but also exposing people to Protech. I don't hear a lot of people talking about them that are newer to the knife scene. Now, I got into the knives in the 90s, all right? 90s, 2000s, and obviously up till now. The last 20 years, a lot of stuff has changed. Now, people who got into the knife game a while back, they all know about Protech. Protech is a very well-established automatic knife company, all right? But if you're new to the scene, you might not have heard them before. In fact, I have one of their 2018 brochures, all right, showing a couple different models. So again, I mean, you go from something that's kind of plain Jane utilitarian to just a masterpiece. I mean, a piece of artwork. You know, they're really, really known for like their Godson and Godfather designs. Here's a Godson, nice Damascus blade, all kinds of different inserts, all kinds of different looks. They also have a lot of smaller ones. They have California legal autos. All right, just really, really nice. See the Magic 2, two different versions of it there. This one has like a nice textured scale, looks really cool. All right, you can see this one is $440. I believe that's the retail for that. It's not obviously, you know, that price at most dealers and stuff. But just again, just giving you a different look to the same knife. All right, on the back, same deal. This is the plain handle one, but you know, with regular satin hardware and a satin blade. Just really, really cool. All right, again, the total artwork right there with that Godson. Just beautiful. Here's a collaboration. You probably have seen some different Protech collabs in the past as well. So before I forget, it also came with a really nice pouch. Okay, just a material bag to keep scratches away and stuff if you do happen to, you know, want to keep it pristine, if it's more of a collectible for you as opposed to a user. But you know me, most of the time I do like using my knives. I mean, if I have one of those, you know, Damascus with mother of pearl inlays or something like that, maybe that's more of a safe queen and stuff. But this one is definitely a usable knife, but a really, really cool auto as well. So yeah, if you guys have some Protechs, write down in the comment section what you like. I know a lot of the older guys, you know, maybe in their 40s and 50s and 60s now, from back in the day, have a huge Protech collection. I know one in particular person, a guy named, I think his name is Gary, and I talked to him years ago, but he showed me he only collects Protech knives, and he has just, it's amazing. It could be a little museum. So that's it for this one, guys. We have a very awesome, high-end, usable knife with a ton of cool factor to it, all right? More specifically, that reverse grip. Having that reverse grip, just a little thumb on that pocket clip, I mean, just pulling it out of your pocket, you know, you can flip it over to a regular grip, or you can just keep it in reverse grip. But I mean, it is just really, really cool. As far as like any kind of downsides, the only downside I see is that the safest way to close this is with two hands, okay? By, again, gripping those scales to release the lock and using your other hand to close it. Now, if you were to put this in a different grip, like this, you can use, you know, the side of your leg or something to close it one-handed, but I wouldn't recommend it, okay? I would just use two hands. That's, again, the only downside this particular design, but that's the same for a lot of different automatics, you know, side opening automatics anyway. The only other downside I can think of with this is not be able to slowly open it with one hand. There are unique situations where you don't necessarily want, you know, a flashy knife, or you want it to spring open and make a big click or something like that. If you want to quietly open or open it without any intention, you'd have to use two hands, okay? You would use your offhand to just put pressure on the back of that blade, shift the scales apart to release the lock, and then just let it slowly open. All right, it's not a really big deal or anything, but for someone who, you know, likes the advantage of today's knives being one-handed, yeah, you can open one-handed, but you're gonna need a second hand to comfortably close it. And if you want it to open slowly, you're gonna need both hands. But I mean, that's, in my opinion, the only downsides. They're not really downsides. I just see that they come with the territory of this particular design. So that's the Protech Magic 2. Certainly one of the coolest automatics that are out there. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate the support. And I will see you tomorrow with a brand new video. Take care.